Good evening. Welcome. I'm Allison Fry. I'm chair of the Bowling Green State University Alumni Association Board of Directors, and I'm a 2000 graduate of the university. On behalf of Bowling Green State University, our alumni board, I am so excited to welcome you to the 2022 Academy of Distinguished Alumni celebration on the 100th anniversary of our homecoming. As we begin this evening's performance, please join me in recognizing 6 members of the Academy in attendance tonight. Each of them are going to be escorted by an Alumni Laureate Scholar student. Please hold your applause until all are seated. Peter Engelhardt, 2015 inductee, escorted by Madison Rex. Alicia Fernandez-Mott, 2014 inductee, escorted by Elise Adrian. Dick Maxwell, 2018 inductee, escorted by Julia Amlin. Bob Sebo, 2019 inductee, escorted by Brittany Romer. Beverly Smith, 2018 inductee, escorted by Leon Wong. And Paul Stifler, 2018 inductee, escorted by Riley Meese. Welcome. As we mark this 100th anniversary of BGSU homecoming, we're also reflecting on the centennial of Bowling Green State University that was held in 2010. In the intervening years, the university had several milestones that passed. The pandemic did delay some of these celebrations, but traditions do endure. And one special occasion that happened in 2019 was the 100th anniversary of BGSU football. In honor of the university and a century of football, former chair of the BGSU Board of Trustees and a member of the Academy of Distinguished Alumni, Dr. Bob Sebo, commissioned a film documentary chronicling the history of BGSU through the eyes of Falcon football. Tonight, we're very pleased to debut a short clip that will be coming from this full film soon.
There are so many outstanding individuals and football players at Bowling Green before I came and since I left.
Since its founding in 1910, Bowling Green State University has focused entirely on the quality of the school experience they provide to their students. Their footprint on the collegiate landscape has been and is remarkable. BGSU, a public university for the public good. Learn about the rise of this tradition-rich university through the lens of its football program and understand why, once you're a Falcon, you are always a Falcon.
Thank you so much, Bob, for your leadership in supporting this special tribute of 100 years at our university. Bowling Green State University has a rich tradition of excellence that is strengthened by our far-reaching success of our alumni, especially the 4 that we are going to recognize tonight. Our impressive group of honorees has shown themselves worthy of the university's highest honor through significant and impactful contributions that they have made to their fields of endeavor and their communities. These outstanding alumni are truly creating public good. And now it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Pam Conlon, Vice President for University Advancement and President and CEO of the BGSU Foundation.
Thank you, Allison, and it's so great to see so many Falcons and Falcon supporters here on the campus of Bowling Green State University this evening. We are so pleased to be able to recognize the accomplishments of 4 BGSU, of the very best and brightest that we have produced. And I know as you meet them, you will understand why these honors are richly deserved. Our honorees embody the university's core values of creativity and innovation, entrepreneurial spirit, intellectual and personal growth, ethics and collaboration, and the pursuit of excellence. As we begin, I'd like to acknowledge a few special guests who are in attendance, and as I call your name, please stand and remain standing. And I ask the audience to hold your applause until all have been recognized. The BGSU Board of Trustees has a significant role in securing the future of Bowling Green State University. We thank Chair Marilyn Isley and current trustees Jeff Radbill, Mizell Stewart, and student trustees Josh Otten and Michaela Russ, and former trustee chairs Valerie Newell and Dr. Robert Sebo, along with former trustee Jim Bailey. The BGSU Foundation Board of Directors works to increase and enhance philanthropic support for the university. Former Foundation Board Chair Mike Coolene, and all current and former Foundation Board members. The BGSU Alumni Board of Directors works to build, no, stay standing, stay standing, stay standing. The BGSU Alumni Board of Directors works to build and expand meaningful engagement connections with more than 192,000 living alumni. We recognize immediate past chair Jack Hott and past chairs Carol Ware, David Glass, as well as current and former members of the Alumni Board of Directors. And the leadership of the university. With us this evening are members of the President's Cabinet and deans, and of course the 12th President of Bowling Green State University, Dr. Rodney K. Rogers, and his wife, University Advocate Sandy Earle. Now, thank you all for your leadership and what you do for the university. The beautiful glass pieces that are on the stage that our recipients will receive this evening have been created by one of our own faculty members, Dr. Joel Ordoricio, a renowned glass artist whose works can be found in public and private collections around the world. Now I invite you to enjoy your dinner and some musical selections performed by students from the College of Musical Arts. Alan Landgraf on sax, Dylan Bretz on bass, and Pablo Gomez Estevez on piano. Thank you and enjoy your dinner.
I'm Karen Rohr, Assistant Vice President of Alumni Engagement and Annual Giving, and Executive Director of the Bowling Green State University Alumni Association Board. And I'm also a proud BGSU alumna. I want to acknowledge our wonderful musicians this evening. And I also want to thank the catering team for their outstanding work tonight. It was terrific. Thank you. The last couple of years have been some of the most challenging in Bowling Green State University's 111-year history. Yet through this time, BGSU alumni, faculty, staff, students, and friends have demonstrated resilience, care, and compassion for our communities and each other, and an unwavering sense of hope and discovery as we move forward. All qualities that are embodied in our distinguished alumni that we will honor this evening. Earlier, we introduced our previous honorees of the Academy of Distinguished Alumni. I ask that you please stand again and be recognized a final time. BGSU is very appreciative of the relationship each of you have with the university. In addition to your commitments to work, family, and community, you have chosen to make Bowling Green State University a priority in your lives. We are inspired by your dedication and your loyalty. Your accomplishments and those of fellow BGSU graduates are shining examples to our current and future students. There are no limits to what you can accomplish with a BGSU degree, which is testament to the alumni that you will meet this evening. Now, before we officially induct our 2022 honorees, I am very pleased to welcome to the stage Bowling Green State University alumna and 12th President Rodney K. Rogers.
Thank you, Karen, and good evening. It is certainly an exciting evening here at Bowling Green, especially as we host this wonderful event to celebrate the 2022 inductees of the Academy of Distinguished Alumni. And I certainly want to echo the previous comments and recognize the Board of Trustees, current and former foundation and alumni board. Thank you all for your leadership of Bowling Green State University. And I also want to reaffirm how absolutely thrilled we are to be here on the 100th homecoming celebration of this great institution. So, you know, tonight is not just about 4 amazing inductees, but also about the collective impact that our alumni, our alma mater, has had on the state, the nation, and quite honestly, the world. And it is certainly an honor that I've gotten to know Clarence and Brenda and Beth and Tony. They are not just Falcons, but examples of BGSU graduates creating public good. And you know, homecoming is a reminder of the power of a community, the power of a Bowling Green State University education. And you know, we've been doing this for over 100 years, 122 years to be precise. Today, we have 192,000 living alumni and hundreds of thousands of alumni that have passed through these gates since our founding in 1910. Now, certainly as president, it's certainly been my honor and privilege to have met so many of those alums and heard the stories that they talk about the love of Bowling Green, the power of this learning community. And time and again, it is clearly evident that those who walk this campus have gone out and done extraordinary things. And so to look no further than Clarence Daniels, than Dr. Brenda Hollis, right? Beth Macy, and certainly Dr. Tony Rucci. You know, we have a global hospitality leader, an international criminal prosecutor, a New York Times best-selling author, and a corporate executive who turned academic and public servant. Each of them, through their own experiences, do good. And at the end of the day, that is who we are as alumni of this great institution, people who want to make a difference. Clarence Daniels, a 71, 73 alumnus of Bowling Green State University, served as chairman and CEO of CMS Hospitality, an airport food and beverage concession company, among the fastest growing companies in its industry segment. Daniels built the company from 3 stores at LAX to 40 locations in 8 major airports. He started his career as a member of a global organization, including Marriott, where his mentor, Bill Marriott Jr., had such an impact on him. And outside of his professional career, Daniels has spent his time mentoring small businesses, nonprofit organizations, and the youth. And with his fraternity, which is represented here tonight, I know, he started a mentoring program for 11 and 13-year-old disadvantaged males. Clarence is a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Most importantly, he and his wife, Dr. Monet Daniels, a retired educator and BGSU alumna, are Falcon Flames, right? All right. And Dr. Brenda Hollis is an international criminal prosecutor, a 1968 liberal arts graduate from Bowling Green. She served as an international prosecutor of the extraordinary chambers of the courts of Cambodia from July 2019 to July 2022 during a global pandemic. Prior to those appointments, she's been a prosecutor of both the Residual Special Court for Sierra Leone and the Special Court for Sierra Leone from 2010 to 2019, and I know her work continues as she heads to Ukraine. She's trained judges, prosecutors, investigators, which has impacted the world stage for generations. She served as a U.S. Peace Corps volunteer and as an officer in the U.S. Air Force, retiring with the rank of colonel. Beth Macy is an award-winning journalist, author of 3 New York Times bestsellers, nonfiction books about outsiders and underdogs. Her 2018 exploration of the opioid crisis, Dope Sick, was adapted by Hulu for a series starring Michael Keaton, with Macy serving as an executive producer and co-writer on the show. The show received 14 Emmy Award nominations, and this past week won 2 of those Emmys. Her follow-up book, Raising Lazarus: Hope, Justice, and the Future of America's Overdose Crisis, was published this summer with solutions to this crisis. Beth is a former newspaper writer for the Roanoke Times. She's also published in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, the Atlantic, the list goes on and on, of course. And she is a 1986 alumna of Bowling Green State University, earning a bachelor's degree in journalism. And it's also my honor to recognize Dr. Tony Rucci, who currently serves as a senior advisor to a U.S. commission established by Congress in 2016, charged with the planning, design, and execution of the nationwide events which will commemorate the 250th anniversary of the founding of this nation in 2026. Previously, he served as the founding president and CEO emeritus of America 250 Foundation. In his nearly 30-year business career, Rucci served as a senior corporate officer for 3 Fortune 50 companies, including executive vice president and president of strategic corporate staff at Cardinal Health, chairman of the board of Sears Mexico, and senior vice president of corporate strategy and business development at Baxter International. He turned to be an academic and is a professor emeritus and a university distinguished teaching professor from another university here in Ohio. I don't know why he didn't come back to Bowling Green, but he's at Ohio State in the Fisher School. Tony holds bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in industrial and organizational development from Bowling Green State University, a 3-time alumnus, Tony Rucci. So these 4 alumni, they have driven the economic, educational, cultural, social vitalities of our communities and throughout the world. While their experiences range from hospitality to journalism to writing to law and crime and business, they all share something special in common that you have heard. They are all graduates of Bowling Green State University, a public university for the public good, and they have created public good by their many accomplishments and success. You know, on these occasions, I'm struck by a quote that I usually use at commencement, but I think it's appropriate here too, and it's inscribed on the stonework of the Student Union, on that side of the Student Union. 4th president of Bowling Green State University, Dr. Ralph McDonald, and it reads, "We are linked to this institution by invisible bonds that do not wither or dissolve." So we are linked to this institution by invisible bonds that do not wither or dissolve. And we often tell our graduates that their success is our success and our success is your success. You know, we are forever linked. And I'm struck on these occasions how your success certainly, I hope this institution can take a little bit of pride. We know your work and all the work and efforts that you have done to accomplish all that you've accomplished is your work. But we hope that this institution played a role in those accomplishments, because your success is our success And our success is your success. We are forever linked to this institution. These 4 accomplishments are more than just personal and professional. You know, this year's inductees have truly made this institution better and the world better. You know, I'm struck. Shaker Heights, Urbana, Ohio, Youngstown, Ohio, McClure, Ohio. 4 Ohioans born here, suburbs, big cities, small towns, from all walks of life, that came here, worked hard, studied, and went out and changed the world. That is the power of education, and that is our honor to honor each of you this evening. And so, I get to propose a toast. So let us raise our glasses. Clarence, Brenda, Beth, Tony, your alma mater is so very proud of your accomplishments. Thank you for allowing us to honor you. Hear, hear, Isaac Izumba, go Falcons.
Thank you, President Rogers. It is now my distinct honor to introduce our 2022 inductees to the Academy of Distinguished Alumni. Clarence Daniels began his professional career as a child advocate and civil rights lawyer with the Children's Defense Fund. While at Bowling Green, as President Rogers mentioned, he met and married his Falcon flame, Monet. His entrepreneurial drive led him to a storied career as a leader in the hospitality industry, garnering numerous honors and recognitions. Clarence's faith and commitment to civic initiatives are an inspiration to us all. Tonight, we share in his well-deserved recognition.
You run across people in the world who are builders, and Clarence is a builder. He builds up people around him. He built his company.
There are just very few people who have achieved what Clarence has achieved, given the odds.
Clarence is a trailblazer. He was never content with the status quo. It was like, no, I can do this, I can do it bigger, I can do it better, I can achieve things that people never even thought were possible.
He has been spectacularly successful.
We actually met at Bowling Green State University. He was a sophomore, I was a freshman. And so we dated over the next 2 years. And then during the summer, we decided to get married. And then, he's still looking around what's going on in the broader country. It's the era of civil rights. And he had an opportunity and an offer to transfer to Howard University Law. He worked in civil rights and he worked for the Children's Defense Fund, but still it was like, okay, there's something else I need to be doing. And so from law, he went into corporate America and he took a position with Marriott Corporation. And then from there at the time, Marriott owned Host International. And so he moved to California and, he was vice president with Host. Clarence was always very, very serious, always thinking beyond the current moment that he was in.
He saw the opportunity because he was active in airports, and he saw the potential for this business that most of us never really think about. We go through airports and we buy a sandwich before we get on the plane, and we're not conscious of the airport as a business, but it's extremely complex.
It's not an easy business. It's not like the street side business where you can just go choose a location. You have to bid against other prospective operators. The airport has to choose you. You have to work in an airport environment, which is 365 days a year.
And so when we decided to do this, Our first airport opportunity was not in LA, where we had moved to make this happen, but it was actually at the Tampa airport. So that was the beginning of Concessions Management Services, or CMS.
He grew it from there to, I think in the end, he had 56 locations maybe across several airports. It's quite a feat.
His ability to think ahead. He's always concerned about what is around the corner. And that has helped him to anticipate challenges in business, which we all get. And that's what I think has made him successful.
So with CMS, we really wanted our workers to feel like it was about us, all of us. We were in this venture together. So we created a dynamic that was all about people, and each one teaching one and each one helping one.
He knew a lot about the industry, and I was new into the industry, so a great teacher, a great mentor, someone who taught me a lot about how things work. No matter what was going on, I could chat with Clarence.
It's real obvious when you meet him that he is grounded in very good set of what I call Christian values. He is Christ, his family, and his community. Those are his North Star as he goes through life.
Clarence started with a pretty small and humble beginning and grew it into quite a company. He is the success story, and then was able to cash in and really create wealth that will be generational for him.
I have to say, Bowling Green did a good job. We hearken back to our roots. They gave him a very stout education, and he's made the most of that education.
I went to college looking for an education, and I found the love. And I'm so very happy that I did. So I'm going to say that becoming a Falcon Flame worked for us.
Clarence, please join President Rogers on stage to receive your award.
Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking Dr. Rogers. I had the good fortune to meet Rodney Rogers several months ago in Los Angeles, and a meeting that was supposed to last 30 minutes ended up going several hours, and I walked away thinking Bowling Green is in really good hands. I thought that would be the last time I'd hear from Dr. Rogers in Bowling Green, but a few weeks later, I got the notification that I had been nominated to be inducted into the Academy of Distinguished Alumni, and I was absolutely flabbergasted. There's no honor that one can get that's greater than being recognized by your peers. The fact that the Alumni Association of Bowling Green State University thought to contact Clarence Daniels after all these years and say, "Hey, young man, job well done." I was just overwhelmed. And I want to thank the Alumni Association. It's not always tough being in an Alumni Association. I have a lot of experience through my children's colleges, and I'm a trustee at another college. And I know the tension that can sometimes exist between alumni associations and various presidents. Presidents come and go, alumni stay. And so it's an interesting dance. And the fact that Dr. Rogers and his alumni association, to me, appear to be so much in sync tells me a lot about it. But the fact that you guys keep this tradition alive and you support the college through the Alumni Association is no small feat. And the fact that you reached out to me to offer me this very distinguished award, I'm so very grateful. You saw my lovely bride. If Bowling Green gave me nothing else, and you gave me a lot, and I'm going to mention some of those things, but if you gave me nothing else, you gave me my life partner. Monet is my heart. She's my partner in life. I wish she could be here tonight, but health reasons wouldn't let her be. But she's the gift that God intended for me to help me accomplish whatever it is I've accomplished. So I really have to just say she should be here. This should be a dual award for Clarence and Monet Daniels, because we've truly been a team from the time we met at Bowling Green State University. I had the opportunity to speak with a class this afternoon, and we were talking, and I was telling them, Danielle, who has been such a wonderful guide for me from the Alumni the Development Office, we were driving by a dorm that Monet used to live in, and I saw this driveway on the side of the dorm, which was the first place where Monet and I had a serious conversation. And in the conversation, she asked me about my future plans and what I wanted to do. And when I told her what my vision was, she laughed. And I've never forgotten the laugh, because it was one of those laughs that said, if you're really serious, I'll be with you. But if this is just some, weak conversation, young man, you can forget it. So Bowling Green gave me my partner. That relationship has given me 2 wonderful children, 2 grandsons, and this past weekend, a beautiful granddaughter. So Bowling Green is responsible for that. Getting this honor is certainly important, but as important is the fact that my family and some of my friends have taken the time from their busy schedules to be here. My sister, Diana Clark, my niece, Danielle, my niece, Imani, my nephew, Dr. Bush, and his wife, Dr. Bush Arnold, and his wife, Dr. Jamie Bush Arnold, my sister-in-law, Dr. Marie Bush, my nephew, who's a BG graduate, David Clark, who used to work for me, his dad, David Clark, my Alpha brothers are in the back. I have an elementary school friend who I've been friends for all of my life, Curtis English, and Pepper Taylor, who was my neighbor, all my Alpha brothers who are here. This is such a wonderful recognition. I don't often think about how fortunate I've been and whatever I've been able to accomplish, but at times like this, you're reminded of the importance of your community, of family and friends, and I'm just so thankful. I must say a word about my parents. My parents were part of the Southern migration, blacks who moved from, in my case, Arkansas, and in their case, to Ohio, seeking better opportunities. They were blue-collar workers initially, before they started a dry cleaning business. But their vision for their children was to go to a college. And I believe it was my dad who landed on Bowling Green, and I didn't object. And they really could not advise me. They couldn't tell me about course selection. They couldn't help me visualize a career, but they could give me their love and support. And I remember I was telling my sister, when they came to bring me to college, I think the whole neighborhood came. There were 2 or 3 cars of people, they dropped me off. And I remember Bowling Green was on a quarter system, and I think it was $325 a quarter plus room and board. And I remember our parents couldn't quite put the money together, and some of the neighbors gave them what they thought was a loan, but the neighbors said, no, this is not a loan, this is an investment. This is an investment in, they call me Junior, this is an investment in Junior for his future. And I've never forgotten that, and I've tried to live my life in a way where I invest in the future of other people. And that came from the wonderful, wonderful parents that I was fortunate enough to have. So Bowling Green, what did Bowling Green do? And I know I have a short, I apologize if I'm going over, but let me just say a word about the things that Bowling Green did for me besides giving me my wife. I don't know if they still do this, Dr. Rogers, but when I was admitted to Bowling Green, the summer before you come, you were asked to read a book. The entire entering class had to read a book. And in my case, the book was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And if you've never read the book, it's about surviving in a concentration camp. And I remember when I read it, how overwhelmed I was by the book and how inspired I was by the notion that against those type of odds, people could survive, right? And so I couldn't wait to get to Bowling Green campus because I thought there were going to be these discussion groups where we're all going to meet and talk about the book. Well, there were no discussion groups. And that was an incredible lesson for me, because the lesson was, Clarence, you're going to spend the rest of your life thinking about man's search for meaning. And I've never forgotten. I think about it often. And I thank Bowling Green for exposing me to that level of literature and that level of motivation, because it's how I tried to live my life, it's how I tried to develop my business, it's how I've tried to interact with my community. The final thing I'll say about my matriculation at Bowling Green was, Bowling Green gave me early and often the opportunity to be a leader. From the time I got on campus, I worked in the campus dining. Those of you who went to Bowling Green, you remember the big cafeterias. We used to have these white jackets, the workers, and when you got promoted, you got a gold jacket. Well, I got a gold jacket very early on. So I was a manager in the cafeteria. There used to be a town council between the university students and the college community, the town community. Had issues. Somehow I got nominated to be the college representative on that council. There may have been other students, but I was one. We started the Black Student Union when I was here. I was one of the first co-presidents of the Black Student Union. My fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, I think I was first as secretary, but I got leadership opportunities. I learned Robert's Rules of Order very early on. It's very important. And then there were professors, there were mentors. Vivian Lawyer, who was the house mother at the Delta House. Bob Perry gave me my first job. He was the first director of ethnic studies. Dr. Bob Mumau, who was a great person in the graduate school. Cliff Brooks, who ran the Upper Bound program. I was the assistant director of Upper Bound. And where there was an adjunct professor here from Toledo named Wayne Graham, who taught the Harlem Renaissance. And it developed my love of history that came out of Harlem and the great writing and the great artwork. So Bowling Green gave me a lot of things that have stayed with me all these years. And I want to thank, again, Dr. Rogers, and I want to thank the Alumni Association, because the last couple of weeks have given me an opportunity to reflect upon the very importance of Bowling Green in my life. And so thank you all for recognizing me. Thank you for what you do at Public University of Public Good. We need it more now than ever, and just thank you so much for including me.
Congratulations again, Clarence, on your induction into the Academy of Distinguished Alumni. Our next recipient, Colonel Brenda Hollis, has transversed literally hundreds of countries since leaving Bowling Green. Her amazing career has led her to the highest echelons of international justice leadership, human rights, law, and ethics. Her innate sense of compassion communicates value and appreciation for those who she has touched. Brenda's career has many highlights, yet her recognition as a BGSU Athletics Distinguished Alumni Award winner, bestowed in 2017, is a treasured honor. As a student, Brenda was a top soccer standout athlete in several sports, pre-Title IX, including hockey, softball, and basketball. Tonight, we reflect on those accomplishments and many more.
There's no one who has had a broader breadth of experience in international criminal law than Brenda.
Brenda's career is fairly well known. She worked in the Air Force as a lawyer for about 22 years. She worked at the Yugoslavia Tribunal for a number of years, not involved in the Tadic case, the first case at the Yugoslavia court. She was the prosecutor at Special Court for Sierra Leone, and she's also been the prosecutor for a few years at the Extraordinary Chambers in the Courts of Cambodia.
She was instrumental in building the case that convicted Charles Taylor. She tightened the Charles Taylor case based on the evidence that had come out in our other trials, and then of course she led the Charles Taylor case through to the end.
She has her eye on what the goal is, to achieve justice and to achieve respect for others. And that was always a strong light that she followed. And it was one that she made clear for everyone that she worked with.
She was a great team player in trying to advance the cause of international justice.
She always took time to explain and provide advice to new people, and that had an immediate impression on me that this is a person that's generous with their time and determined to do a good job that she was asked to do.
Part of what the prosecutor does is go out into remote areas, all parts of the country, to explain their case, because the prosecutors always saw the people of Sierra Leone as their client. So Brenda was very good at relating to people of all walks of life. You would see her relating to children. You also see her relating to adults and making them feel appreciated, making them feel that, yes, she is here to deliver justice in their name.
A few years ago, Dolores and Brenda and I were together in Washington, D.C., and we had the opportunity to go to lunch with a woman named Bernice Sandler. Now, Bernice Sandler is well known in her own right. She is known as the godmother of Title IX. The four of us went to lunch, and while Dolores and I were sitting there, we were just amazed that we were actually in the company of these two great women at the same time. But what impressed me was after lunch, Brenda, she said, "I cannot believe that I just had lunch with a woman who changed the world." So her humility and respect for other people's accomplishments is very impressive.
She loves the outdoors. She loves to travel. She has a map of all of the countries that she has visited, and I know she's well past 100 now, but I remember getting up to 100. She loves to see and understand other cultures and to know the world around her. But all the places she's visited, I think that her love of Colorado and the mountains is probably still on top of that list.
You love to talk to her because you can talk to her about novels, you can talk to her about history, talk to her about the world, different foods. You learn from her. That's what I like about her. She's worldly. It's wonderful.
Brenda's never done anything for the recognition. I think that that's why, to me, this is particularly special. And I particularly applaud Bowling Green because, they found someone who deserves it in every way, but who didn't seek it out. We're at a time where humankind needs Brenda and needs more people like Brenda.
Brenda, please join President Rogers on stage to receive your award.
First of all, just let me say I'd like to meet that woman. I'm sure I'd really enjoy her company. It's a real privilege to be here tonight with the other inductees who have contributed so significantly to society in a variety of ways. And it's also a privilege to have been here at BGSU. Because in many ways, my years here shaped what I did after that. Bowling Green in the classroom, on the sports field, interacting with professors, with my fellow students, reinforced the core values that my mother had instilled in me. And that is that you always give your best effort to everything that you do, that you always act with honor and integrity and honesty, and that you always do what your moral compass tells you you must do, whether others agree with you or not. And my years here did nothing but reinforce the importance of those core values. So it was a real privilege to be here. And as I said, many things I did afterward were shaped by my years at Bowling Green. But it's also been a privilege. You know, I stand here alone on this stage, but really there should be hundreds of people here with me, because I have been privileged to work in teams in the Air Force, in the various international criminal courts, teams of dedicated, skilled professionals who put everything they had into bringing justice to victims of horrific crimes that we could not even imagine. And so I'm privileged to have worked with them. Earlier today, I heard Beth, another inductee, talk about the importance of having friends and those who support you no matter what. And I've been privileged to have that as well. And some of them are here with me tonight. We have two people from BGSU, Janet and Dolores, or Bucky, as I call her, who have always been great friends, have been mentors, have been inspirations. I have Jim Johnson, that I have been privileged to work with at the Special Court for Sierra Leone, and whose sage advice has curbed some of my impulses and made my positions on the law and the facts much better. And he's here with his wife, Pam, who's always been a friend, always willing to do anything to help people, including traveling half the way around Europe to help bring my apartment into order when I was moving to The Hague for the Charles Taylor trial. And another professional that I have been honored to work with, Binta Mansoureh, who was the chief administrator of the Special Court for Sierra Leone during the trial of Charles Taylor, and took on all of the challenges that that trial presented and made sure that the judges, the defense counsel, and the prosecution teams had everything that we needed to be able to move forward and carry out our duties as best as we could. So I have lived a very privileged life, and I am here today because I did have all of those privileges, including being here at Bowling Green State University. My years here were wonderful years. I was able to develop intellectually, I was able to develop physically, and I just had a wonderful time here. And tonight just shows what a great university it is, the way they have put this on, all the people who put so much time into making this a success. I really appreciate all of it, and I'm very happy to be here with all of you, and thank you very much to Bowling Green for this honor. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Brenda, on your induction into the Academy of Distinguished Alumni. Our next honoree is acclaimed author Beth Macy, who, like many of our students and many of us here this evening, is a first-generation college graduate. Beth seized the opportunity of a scholarship to Bowling Green that profoundly shaped her career trajectory. A consummate, tenacious, and sensitive storyteller, Beth has throughout her reporting career, and now as an author, captured and laid bare issues that plague our society, shining a much-needed spotlight on these issues and driven action. Tonight, we hear from some of those who know her best.
Next up, we have the nominees for Outstanding Limited or Anthology Series. Here they are.
Dope Sick.
There it is, I got it,
I can't believe how many of them are dead now.
This is my favorite scene.
Beth is a first-generation college student in her family. She had a Pell Grant, which allowed for that. It provided her with a big stepping stone into the next level.
She's come from a background where, she didn't have a lot of privilege herself. She's benefited from her talent. She's worked very, very hard to get to where she is.
She's among the, I think, finest nonfiction writers anywhere. It was 1989, and she came to the paper. Well, she wrote about homemaking and recipes, and it was really a while, I think, before all of us started to realize what a talent had come to the paper.
the best food writer I've ever come across, because, I mean, you can take a food story and make something out of it. To me, really said, she is very, very special.
She left behind the recipes and the flower growing and took on some of the biggest stories there are.
Beth, as a journalist, leads with people first. It improves your journalism. Better things come out of that if you can see that as the human connection.
What Beth's work has always centered on is the people who are living the experience of whatever that is. Of course, as a photographer, that's all I'm interested in. Anything that made it into my portfolio where I felt like this is some of my best work always was done with Beth. And I mean, it was almost like every single one.
She got better and better at long-form journalism, we call it. And I think she always hoped that someday she could write a book. Who knew that she would write 3 best-selling books?
You've got Factory Man, which is the story of the furniture business in our part of the world and how it was decimated by NAFTA.
I think it was the first time those of us who knew her as a newspaper reporter realized how deeply she could go if given the chance.
Beth's book got a lot of praise from world-renowned economists. She's not an economist, but she did such good research that she was praised for it.
With her second book, Truvine is a book about 2 light-skinned African-American brothers who were kidnapped and put in the circus, and people had been whispering about it in Roanoke for 100 years.
One of the brothers was still alive and was being cared for by a niece who was over-the-top protective of her uncle. The whole story of them being kidnapped was like so racist, and she prohibited anybody from meeting them.
But Beth kept going back and back and back until she made friends with that lady and told that story.
And she heard of heroin in an upper-class suburb of Roanoke. And that's when she really started looking into it. And through her reporting, eventually became the book Dope Sick.
Opioids had been there for a long time, but had been swept under the rug. People weren't going to talk about it, and they were very angry with her, and she stood strong against that.
They turned Dope Sick, the book, into Dope Sick, the Hulu series. When I watched it, I cried.
I mean, a lot more people are going to see a show on Hulu, unfortunately, than will ever read a book.
The demands on her are so great. If people want to talk to her, interview her, as much as she may become lauded or praised, I don't think she'll ever not be giving back to people. That's just part of her core.
It is so huge what she has done, what she was able to do, and God bless Bowling Green for giving her that scholarship.
Beth, please join President Rogers on stage to receive your award.
Wow, you got all my favorite peeps up there. And the ones that weren't in it are right at this table. So coming here, I was talking to the students earlier today. I was the first person in my family to go to college. It was the scariest moment of my life. So I'm from Urbana, which is like an hour west of Columbus. And my mom had to borrow a car to bring me here, because we didn't have a car that would make it this far. It was 2 hours. And my mom was a badass factory worker. And when she would lose her job, when the economy would tank, she would pick up under the table jobs, babysitting, waitressing, just like the people in my first book, Factory Man, did. And I looked at her halfway up around Findlay, and I was like, I might need to go back. And she was like, nope, we're going. She didn't know what college was like because she had never been. And I've said it often, that coming here if I hadn't come here, if it hadn't been for the Pell Grant, if it hadn't been for the work-study jobs, I worked in the financial aid office, the public relations office, I mixed chemicals in the photojournalism lab for Jim Gordon. If I hadn't come here, I might not have made it. I might have been like the folks in the books I write. I know I'm just fingernails width from being one of them. We all are, to be honest, right? We all are. And I just want to thank Bowling Green for making a poor kid feel welcome and introducing me to teachers like Dr. Ray Lakanimi. He was my first news professor in the School of Journalism. He would talk about like this feeling that when you're a real reporter in a community, you're not necessarily a reporter in a big community, you're a reporter that knows their community. And that any community, no matter what the size, is as important as the next. And he would say, you'll know if you've arrived when you can go anywhere in your community and exact a really good story. And it was all about building trust in the community and getting people to trust me that I would get their story right, that I would tell the truth, warts and all. I always tell people, I ain't gonna make it up. It's gonna be the truth, warts and all. So I get on the ground. I wanna thank Vicki Hesterman, who's with us here tonight. She was my first feature writing teacher. She took such care in mentoring a scared kid from a small town. She helped me publish my first national art magazine article in 17 magazine when I was a sophomore. I mean, I can't tell you how huge that was. You know, it made a name for me in the journalism school. And I remember, Vicki, I don't know if you remember, you edited every sentence in that piece. You're like, this has to be perfect. I want them to take it, and they did. I want to thank my roommate, Jenny Booth Pitcher, who's here tonight with her husband, Jim, whose entire family, Jenny was from Sylvania. And we were kind of like Mutt and Jeff. We were so different. Our backgrounds were so different. Her entire family embraced me, including her Aunt Carolyn, who would come to town from time to time and give us pizza and lipstick money. She spoiled us like crazy. Jenny was a kind of a person that I didn't really know until I came to Bowling Green. She was a math minor, an education major. She would do math problems in her sleep. Literally, she'd be like, Beth, what's the square root of blah, 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 blah? And I'm like, go back to sleep. But she was a serious scholar. She got Harper's Magazine and The Atlantic. I mean, these are publications I've published in, but at the time, I didn't know what they were. And how would I? Jenny taught me this world, and she embraced me. I want to give a special shout out to my best friend from high school, Doug Rader, AKA Dougie, a true mentor and friend. He's like, Mace, you've got to go to college. We were chemistry lab partners. We got into some serious trouble together. And his dad was a doctor from a whole different background than me, and he was not snobby. He was a loving, dear, dear friend. The first time I moved out of state was for my first newspaper job in Savannah, Georgia. Dougie packed up all my stuff in the back of his dad's pickup truck, and he moved me to Savannah. Now that is a friend. I found out later that I could have asked the paper to move me, but I was too naive to know, because I didn't know anybody that had moved out of state. I didn't see the ocean until I was 20 years old. And lastly, I have to thank my husband, Tom Landon, the wing beneath my wings, the updraft beneath my armpits. the everything, the captain of my team. I told the students today, you have to get a team that only wants the best for you. It is so important who you choose to partner with. He's a wonderful dad. We have 2 sons in their 20s who still makes me spit up my food laughing. I told the students today, you should only have people who are in your corner, who want the best for you. And so Bowling Green, you're my team. This place is my team. Y'all are my team. And I'm just so grateful for being here. I'm so honored to be among the recipients who are amazing. Oh my goodness. And I wasn't gonna talk about my mom tonight, but I should, because my mom passed away about 1.5 years ago. Oh, I think I did say she was a badass. She was my first editor. She would edit my school papers. She would say things like, don't take shit off anybody, especially not a man. And, as she got dementia, she's just a total character who just is who she was. She had moderate dementia. The last Valentine's Day, I sent her a card and a bar of chocolate. And she loved chocolate. We both loved chocolate. And I called her that Saturday. I said, Mom, did you get the Valentine I sent? And she said, no, I don't think so. And I said, Mom, it was like a card, and it was a bar of chocolate and a big envelope. And she went just like this. Well, if you would have sent me 2, I would remember. So here's to the feisty mothers who edited our papers, who told us not to take any crap, especially from a man, and who just made us strive to do better. For ourselves, for our families, for our communities. I really appreciate this honor, and I thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Beth, we're delighted to welcome you as a member of the BGSU Academy of Distinguished Alumni. Tonight's final honoree is Dr. Tony Rucci. Throughout his amazing career, Tony has been and continues to be a motivating and empathetic leader. Driven to be what's next, Tony focuses on and values the contributions of internal as well as external customers. He is a servant leader and mentor, reflecting the best ideals of Bowling Green State University. His passion and commitment energizes his students, colleagues, and collaborators, and challenges them to be the good.
I had the privilege a long time ago to meet an organizational prodigy. That's Tony Rucci. Early in his career, he was working at a company called Baxter Healthcare. They were doing one of the largest mergers in the world in the healthcare industry. He understood how to make mergers, how to make acquisitions work. And he pulled together the teams to deliver one of the greatest acquisitions in healthcare industry at the time. He's also a genius. He moved to Sears. He had the wisdom and foresight and insight to look ahead and to see that the way you treat your employees inside a company is a critical predictor of the way your customers experience the company. And so Tony's work at Sears and elsewhere showed the correlation between the internal employee experience and the external customer experience.
It's all about how the leader makes the followers feel. And I think that's how he's really been expert at building relationships and getting people to follow him, because he makes them feel like they're valued and part of the team. And that's, I think, part of his real secret to his success.
At Ohio State, Tony brought into the Fisher School a set of disciplines. He moved from the business world into the academic world to bring the theory and research of academics with the practice of the business world so that students would walk away from his class enamored.
I cannot think of another person in my academic career who has been as influential and as successful in so many different spheres of life that Tony has been. I think having such a diverse background of experience that he could draw upon was exactly what made him so interesting to listen to.
Whether it's been in an educational institution like Ohio State or in many of the corporations he's worked in, I think he's really effective at connecting with people and building relationships. And obviously, he's just incredibly bright and has a really good strategic perspective.
I first had the pleasure of meeting Tony Rucci in his role as the CEO of the America 250 Foundation. So America 250 is the congressional commission that's been charged to start planning the nation's 250th anniversary in 2026. What I think makes Tony the perfect fit for the role as CEO is that he really brings a lot of different perspectives to the table. He has a great background in academia, in corporate management, in community service. And I think more than anything, I think it's really kind of his commitment to those around him, whether it's his family, whether it's his neighborhood, his dad. His father was awarded the Purple Heart. He's an Italian immigrant, and he served in World War II. We have collaborated with the Congressional Commission honoring World War II, and to hear those stories and kind of what we all have in common is really something to admire. But I think what people might also not know that Tony did is he did all his work for America 250 pro bono. It's just really nice to see a real human behind so much accomplishment.
So much of his involvement in my life and where it's overlapped and what I've seen has always been through him giving back. When he sent me his resume, half of the stuff I actually was unaware of because he's not the type of person who's going to go and shout about it. He's Tony. He's permanently endowed 8 scholarships at Bowling Green. I mean, that in itself, take away everything else, that in itself is incredible.
I'm just so excited for him that he's getting this award from his alma mater. I know that's incredibly meaningful to him when he shared it with me about really, the impact Bowling Green had on his life and how he's thrilled to be an example and role model to others there at the university about what you can do with yourself with a Bowling Green education.
Wherever Tony is and whatever Tony's doing, he's got passion and he is having a great experience. He's looking around the world. He's observing what's happening. He's seeing what others are doing, and he's laughing in his head and that little smile and that cute look and saying, how do we make this work? Tony, keep on smiling. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep the passion and keep the learning.
Tony, please join President Rogers on stage to receive your award.
So hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good evening. And thank you sincerely to Bowling Green, the Alumni Association, for the recognition. It's fitting that this event is in September of 2022 because it was exactly 50 years ago this month that I left Bowling Green University with my bachelor's degree. Anybody want to guess at what the #1 song was in America in September of 1972? It was American Pie by Don McLean. So bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Okay, that's enough, that's enough. What was the #1 movie in America in September of 1972? The Godfather with Marlon Brando. My favorite line from that movie, leave the gun, take the cannoli. Right here at Bowling Green State University, September 1972, Dave Waddle had just won the gold medal in the Munich Olympics. The Bowling Green football team upset Purdue University 17-14 in West Lafayette. And by the way, in September of 1972, our very own president, Rodney Rogers, was 13 years old. Rodney, I've seen pictures. You were an adorable kid, and you have not changed a bit, Rodney, not a bit. I've said many times that Bowling Green was perhaps the most meaningful inflection point in my lifetime. But it wasn't because of the curriculum It wasn't because of the classes. It was because of the people that Bowling Green brought into my life, both in a formal way and in a personal way. First, I have to tell you, though, how I got to Bowling Green. I had been in a seminary studying to be a Catholic priest, and I decided I didn't want to do that. And so I was looking around for a university to go to at the very last minute. And I'd already missed all the deadlines for admissions and whatnot. And I went back to my secular high school, parochial high school in Youngstown, Ohio, and the guidance office had all of the college catalogs arrayed on the shelves. And I narrowed it down to the 2 colleges that I thought had the coolest names I could find. Swear to God. Bowling Green State University, I thought was a very cool name. And the other one was Slippery Rock College in Western Pennsylvania. Now, fortunately, I chose Bowling Green. But you got to admit, Slippery Rock College is a pretty cool name for a college. Over the next 8 years that I spent at Bowling Green, undergrad and graduate school, the people that I met here made a profound difference in my life. Professors, there was a cadre of 6 professors in the psychology department here who cared. They cared about me as an individual. Joe Craney, Ken Alvarez, Lowell Shipper, Bob Guyan, Patricia Kane Smith, and Mike Doherty. I owe these people an unrepayable debt. Secondly, I met Kathleen here, who is the mom to our 3 children, Kelly, Heather, and Joshua. Heather and Joshua are here with me this evening. Joshua got his bachelor's degree from Bowling Green State University. And Joshua's wife, Bridget, got her degree from Bowling Green State University. Jim Lodeman and his wife, Cindy, lifetime friends of mine. I met here in my freshman year at Bowling Green State University, and he's sitting right over there 54 years later. That's the kind of people that Bowling Green brought into my life. By the way, I had already promised Jim that I would not bring up the incident that occurred on the 3rd hole of the golf course here in 1972. But Rodney, all I can tell you in my defense is Jim was driving the car that evening, not me. This recognition tonight is clearly not just a career capstone, but a life capstone for me. And as our other speakers and inductees have said, I have 2 tables of folks here who I love more than life itself. And the best thing I can say about these people who are here with me tonight is they have allowed me to be me, and they've loved me in spite of that. And that is perhaps the highest compliment that one can pay another human being. Lou, Phil, my brother and sister-in-law, Jim and Cindy, I mentioned, Mick and Doris, Pat, John, Matt, Jeff, Larry, Kathleen, Tara. Thank you for your friendship. I do have to mention my mom and my dad, who have both since left us. And I do need to mention Sister Jude in high school, Franco Chacon, who is no longer with us, Frank Pascal, who is no longer with us, and Bill Clover, who is no longer with us. And many of these people also Bowling Green brought into my life. In closing, a word about this recognition. I've had a chance to read the bios, just as you have, of the other inductees this evening and prior inductees, and to be sure, they're ridiculously impressive. But what I really noticed was the inductees, the award is not about accomplishments. The award is about accomplished people who recognize the moral obligation they have to give back to the world. And that is probably the highest compliment I can pay to my co-inductees this evening. Brenda and Beth and Clarence, well done. Well done, what you have given back to the world. One of my favorite quotes, Clarence, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Swear to God, it's in my notes, Clarence, even though you said it earlier. Success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. Instead, it ensues as the unintended consequence of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself, a sense of purpose in one's life. And you three have embodied that, as have many of the inductees. So in closing, I would just suggest that much of what we've seen and heard here this evening, I think illustrates something that I just feel very strongly about at this point in our history. Very few of the things that ail the world today, and we've got plenty of them, could be solved with a simple adherence to kindness and compassion and human decency. And so if I could encourage all of us as we leave here this evening, as you've heard about the wonderful things that these inductees have done, is renew that commitment to kindness and compassion and decency. Bowling Green, thank you once again, and peace, happiness, and best wishes to all of you here this evening. Thank you for coming. Rodney, thank you.
Tony, we are delighted to welcome you as a member of the BGSU Academy of Distinguished Alumni. We celebrate the selfless commitments these outstanding alumni have made to their chosen professions and communities. It has been a privilege to share their remarkable stories. Once again, Clarence, Brenda, Beth, and Tony, congratulations on your induction into the 2022 Academy of Distinguished Alumni. And thank you also to all of our honorees for being with us this evening. We are proud and appreciative of all that you have done for Bowling Green, exemplifying what it means to be a distinguished alumni. Finally, we thank each of you for the work you do to support our students and Bowling Green State University. When Falcons come together, they change lives. We invite you to please stay and enjoy the reception and congratulate our honorees. And we look forward to seeing you throughout the many exciting events this weekend as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of homecoming. Thank you and have a good evening.